Hello, we're back. It's episode 24 and we haven't recorded in a while, have we?
No, it's been a while, been a long time.
Yeah, we pre-recorded a load before and now this is the kind of first one back after, I don't know how long, probably 6 weeks maybe. So this time, we've been on a few trips since we last spoke, and that's what we're going to be talking about. We've got 2 parks to talk about, which are the 2 in Sweden that we've been to. So Kolmården and Gröna Lund. Probably pronouncing them all wrong.
Yeah. So we went on holiday with Zoe's family and were lucky enough to be able to do these parks on the trip. You know, it wasn't a theme park trip or anything. And they weren't really probably on the original agenda, but I shoehorn them in, you know, as you do. Kolmården is not... So we went to Stockholm, and Kolmården is not very close to Stockholm. It's about an hour and 40-minute drive away, down south-ish way. So that was the real trek of the journey. So if you want to go to Kolmården, you have to kind of be very dedicated. Whereas the second part, Gröna Lund, was in the centre of Stockholm itself. So if you're doing a family holiday to Stockholm and you're there for several days, then it's very easy to hop into Gröna Lund even for a few hours and just get some of the rides done, get the creds and leave, which is what pretty much we did. Mm-hmm. But on the trip, first of all, we went to Kolmården, right? And you get people doing these trips quite often, actually. The Swedish trio of Gröna Lund, Kolmården, and like Liseberg, either in that order or the opposite order, because you start from the top down or you go from the bottom up. But we did it in kind of a different order. You'd always do kind of like Kolmården isn't really a theme park at all.
Yeah.
Right? It's much more of a zoo. It's
basically a zoo, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. So when you do the trio, you kind of go from theme park to zoo to theme park, which I guess that's a nice change. But we started out with the zoo, and I think it was strange because I'm going to say right now that I preferred Gröna Lund to Kolmården by a large amount. I don't know whether you feel the same, but not even for the rides. Though.
That's hard. Yeah, I know what you mean, but I think it's hard because
it's just.
Kolmården was just so busy with small kids.
Yeah, I know, but maybe it's a lot nicer when it's not so busy. But even though Gröna Lund was busy, and we saw Gröna Lund busy as well, it always felt the atmosphere always felt nice, and it I don't know.
What is it about the atmosphere at Kolmården that you didn't like?
There wasn't really any.
Okay.
In my opinion, there wasn't any kind of tangible buzz coming.
Yeah, but
from
I think
people
that's because it was a zoo.
Potentially, yeah.
It's a whole different atmosphere of a zoo.
Yeah, it's a whole different
than a theme
game.
Park.
Yeah, definitely.
So there's only basically 2. Is there 2 rides at Kolmården?
Well, there's quite a few rides. The rides are all family rides, bar one, right, which is the main reason everyone goes. There's 2 family roller coasters, a whole family area as well. And then there's obviously the big boy attraction that is Wildfire, which everyone talks about. And Wildfire is obviously the RMC wooden roller coaster, Europe's first RMC roller coaster, the one that has all of the mountainous terrain around it.
Yeah. The rest of the park is literally just animal enclosures. They have shows. We went to the seal show. So as you can imagine, it's kind of like SeaWorld where they do tricks and stuff. And there's dolphins. And the one part of the zoo that we actually liked, which was the gondola, which is like it's basically a cable car that you sit in and it goes over these massive enclosures with all animals in it. And it was so quiet out there. It was really weird, wasn't it?
Yeah, so there's 2 main big attractions, Wildfire and the Skyride gondola thing that I forget the name of. We'll talk about the gondola first then.
The safari, I think.
Yes, safari ride probably. As you said, there's enclosures littered throughout the park, but the gondola's something else. It's just
Yeah.
you essentially just get away from it all. You get away from all of the rides, all of the people, all of the other enclosures, and you go out into this open area with what feels like massive enclosures just littered with animals here and there, and you kind of go over them.
It was really cool. Like, we've never done anything like that before, and I don't know why there
No.
aren't more of them in the world. There probably are others that we just don't know about, but I've
Yeah.
never heard of one in the UK before.
No, it's a very unique way to see animals, but at the same time, I think it's a good way, because you go to a zoo and everything's crammed together so people can walk between the stuff. Whereas if you have this massive ride that does it all for you, then you can just sit
Yeah.
there and enjoy the animals without having to really get too close to them, and they can have massive pens or massive areas to roam because you're just going above them.
Yeah. I think they should, in the future, they should do zoos that are literally just that. Because a lot of people don't go
It
to
would be
zoos
cool.
because the enclosures are so small and it's kind of horrible. But this
Yeah.
way, it's like they're in the wild nearly. Obviously, they're not in the wild, but they have loads of room to just do whatever they want and you can still see them.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I do think they get cycled out, as in the animals in the main bits of the park are swapped out with the ones at the back. It makes sense if that was the case, because the Sky Ride wasn't always there, and to build all of this infrastructure, this animal infrastructure for that one ride, for me, it doesn't sound like it makes sense. I'm pretty sure that's what they
Yeah.
said. It was probably
I hope
already
so.
there, and then they built a ride over it because they thought, oh wow, this is actually, people would probably enjoy seeing this.
Anyway, that was an added bonus. We only went there for Wildfire, but that was good.
Yeah. So go on, tell us about Wildfire. The build up to it, the lead up to the park. Go on.
Well, the lead up to the park, the drive to the park was fine, and then when we were walking in, there was just so many kids everywhere, and the first area you have to walk through is literally the kids bit, and it was hell. And we thought, oh my god, this is gonna be a long queue. But obviously, kids don't want to ride Wildfire, so it was like completely
No.
dead. We queued about 20 minutes max.
Yeah, pretty much. We most of the queues are like 15 minutes in terms of, well, we won it
Yeah.
5 times, and the average we queued was probably 10-15 minutes for it.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, we got there shortly after opening, did the 15-minute walk, because Wildfire is at the very back of the park, and as Zoe said, you have to kind of go through all of the kids areas and all of the other areas, and it's very hilly, very up and down. The park's littered with 1, pushchairs, and 2, the pull along trolleys that you can rent out,
Yeah.
which block up the pathway so bad.
They were really
So
annoying.
if it's busy, you just can't get anywhere fast. It's like full stop. So as Zoe said, yeah, we got there, saw all these people. Oh, geez, this is gonna be one hell of a day. But as we walked through the park, it kind of got less and less busy, and we saw less and less people.
Although, when we got there at the end of the day, people had discovered that area, and when the seal show started, people were like making their way over. So the area was like jammed around Wildfire,
Yes.
but there was still no queue for it.
Yeah, it was strange. It was really strange. I think people kind of like sift through the park, and it's the age-old thing where you hear people say, oh yeah, start at the back of the park and work your way forwards. In that case, it really it really did work, because everyone was looking at the things as they went through the park rather than going through them and then working backwards. But no, by an hour to an hour and a half after opening, quite a lot of people had gone through the entirety of the park, which probably takes 15 minutes anyway. And the area, as I said, surrounding Wildfire was pretty rammed. Yet on 2 trains, it was still only pulling a 10-15 minute queue.
This is why, it felt so weird to be there, because we were enthusiasts. We didn't really care about the zoo, and then the ride was so dead when it's like one of the best rides in Europe, and it's like what is going on?
It didn't make sense. It didn't feel right at all.
Yeah,
It felt very wrong.
I felt like we
for
were
it
in a
to be
little
there.
bubble of nobody knew that ride was even there.
Yeah, but everyone knows that that's there.
But
In
nobody
enthusiast
wants to
circles,
no one's
it's-
going on it.
Well, because it's not a thrill park, is it? It's not for adults. It's for families. So why would I? This is it. unless Wildfire is part of a long-term plan to invest in a new type of market, thrill seekers and that. I don't know why you'd build it
No, it literally makes no
when everything
sense.
else your park has is family orientated. Why build something that's
It's not even a
completely against
park
that
though, it's a
grain?
zoo.
Well, yeah, but it's a zoo that is clearly expanding into the theme park territory because over the past decade, they've been building more and more kids' rides.
Mm.
So they're definitely
But
getting into
still.
the theme park. Yeah. No, I know. It's just very, very odd, very odd.
But we'll take it because it's a
Anyway,
great ride.
it is a great ride. Go on, give us your thoughts on it.
It's hard to like remember. We only did it 5 times, so your brain like doesn't
Only.
really remember it as much. But yeah, it was very, very good. The first drop was insane. And then
It
I
was
don't
very
know,
cool.
it was good, but then I think you were saying as well, some of the pacing of it was weird. Like at the end, it would slow right down on some bits, and it was just like, oh, kind of loses momentum.
Yeah, definitely. It's an odd one. Whether it's always the thing like everyone goes and rides the ride and everyone has different opinions, but you never know if you caught a ride on a bad day or a good day. We could have caught Wildfire on a
Yeah.
bad day. It could have been just slow on that day, slower
Who
than
knows?
normal.
Like, who knows?
Yeah, this is it. There's no way to say, unless you look at the speed that it's going around the track, there's no way. So, but no, as you said, it was a really, really good roller coaster when we rode, I'll put that down, with some unfortunate pacing issues, essentially. If it kept the pace up, there's a point of the ride, like 3/4 of the way through, where it just stops, basically. And it's such a shame, because if it kept the pace all the way through, then it would be one hell of a ride. And it probably does at the very end of the day on a hot summer's day, But why just then? I
Yeah,
don't know.
surely it should be
It's
running
such a
like
shame.
really good the whole time.
Yeah, or at least quickly. It's not. It takes a little while to warm up, but when it warms up quickly. But
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. I had such high expectations for RMC. I thought personally, from what I'd heard, all of these elements that I'd never done before were going to blow my mind. I'm going to be feeling all these new types of G-forces, all these new types of being thrown around in my seat. And then we rode it, and in my mind, all I could think of was like, this is just a bit more of an extreme version of everything else I've done. Nothing felt truly original, Nothing blew my
And
mind.
also, I think I thought it was going to be bang on perfect. Like, no
Yeah, well,
issues
so did I.
whatsoever.
This is it. So did I. But no coaster's obviously perfect, but everyone had such high, everyone said so many good things about Wildfire that I thought it was going to be boom, instant, number one, no problem, top of the list. But
Yeah. But also,
it just
for
wasn't quite
you,
there.
wasn't enough theming for it to ever be number one, I don't think.
Yeah, it wasn't just the fact that there wasn't enough theming, right? As I was saying earlier, a lot of your experience is based on the atmosphere of the ride and the feeling you get while you're queuing for it, or when you enter the park and you see it for the first time and it all builds up, right? I don't know what it was, and I've had this for all of my top coasters, all of my top 5 coasters have all been, as I was walking up, the music built, the anticipation built, I was excited, more and more and more excited to ride, the atmosphere was building, but with Wildfire, there was none of it. It literally felt that I was getting on any roller coaster. You know what I mean? I don't know whether that was just me. This is it. For all of the other rides like Carnan, Helix, Taron, I'd never felt like that. It was always, Harry, you're about to ride something that everyone loves, and it was all built up and it felt built up. Whereas,
But is that because it was in a zoo?
this is it. I don't know. Maybe it was. Maybe I don't. It's really hard to gauge. It is. Yeah. It's yeah. I don't know why it
It's
happened like
annoying,
that. I wish it didn't
when
happen
that
like that.
happens.
Yeah, but that's one of the reasons it isn't higher on my list, just because it didn't feel like anything. It didn't feel special.
Wait, so
It
where
just
is it
felt
on your
like
list?
it could be anywhere. Probably it's 3. It's
3.
3. Yeah, I'd rather ride Helix.
And
you
you'd
know?
rather wait. So it goes Carnan, Helix, Wildfire, Taron.
Yeah, because Taron's also got some dodgy pacing issues. So,
Yeah.
but then I don't know. I think Taron, we need to get back on Taron. I feel like we didn't catch Taron on a good day either,
Yeah.
you know? So maybe, yeah, I think now, the more I look back on our experience of Wildfire, the more it wasn't as good as I hoped or thought or wish it was.
Yeah. But I
But
do
the thing
remember
is,
coming off it and being like, that was a good ride.
oh yeah, this is it. No means is it not a fantastic ride. It offers fantastic airtime, some fantastic lateral forces, some real, kicker elements. Some of the choice of elements on that ride is sublime. So in no means are we saying it's a bad coaster. It is a top coaster. It just wasn't what we expected,
Yeah.
And then,
This is the danger of
and
hyping rides up so much.
oh yeah, this is it. Your experience of rides can easily be ruined. I was just lucky I was lucky with Helix because I'd only ridden Bluefire before. Icon opened recently and Icon was really good, but I was like, well, Icon's pretty good. I can't see Helix being much better than Icon. So my expectations for Helix were quite low. And then we got on it and it instantly blew past it. So if you can, have low expectations for every ride, essentially.
Yeah. Just do what I do. Don't know about anything.
Well, yeah, stay out of everything.
Yeah. Just don't read about anything and you'll be fine.
Yeah. Well, I definitely want to get on more IMCs after this. I mean, it was really good. I just wonder obviously Wildfire was a wooden coaster. And on wooden coasters, you don't usually get much positive G-force because there just isn't that kind of support for it. And Wildfire didn't really offer much sustained G-force, right? But then on the other rides that are obviously built, they're known to be more forceful. So I'd like to try those. Really interested in trying like Untamed. I've heard Untamed is even better than Wildfire. People say. So
Really?
I'd love to. Yeah. I'd love to give it a go.
That is mad.
Exactly.
We also went to Gröna Lund, which is it's in the center of Stockholm, and how did we describe it? It was kind of like Liseberg, kind of like Blackpool.
Yes, it's what you'd call like a broadwalk park, a seaside park. If you're in the UK, it feels like a seaside park where it's slapped
because
on
it's
the
right
edge
on
of,
this river.
Yeah, and everything's incredibly dense. Everything's incredibly close together. There's not much space, so it's all on top of each other. And then it still feels very kind of arcadey, very kind of retro. But at the same time, it doesn't feel retro.
No, because it feels brand new, but brand new retro.
Yeah, exactly. So it literally is, as you said, it takes the compact retro design of Blackpool, marries it to the modern aesthetic of Liseberg, and that's it. That's what you got.
And they have some old rides as well, don't they?
Well, yeah, they got some quite old ones. There's some of the roller coasters are quite old, and some of the flat rides are quite old as well. But like any park that has a limited amount of space, they have to cycle rides out.
Yeah.
So you'll find that they don't have. It's not like Blackpool. So unlike Blackpool, where they have some really old rides because there's a bit more space there, Gröna Lund have been cycling out rides for practically forever. So they're not as old, but there are still some old ones. And there's quite a lot of roller coasters in such a dense space.
Yeah, there is.
And again, they're all intertwined. That you'll find a group of a few roller coasters all next to each other. Then there's another group of a few roller coasters all next to each other. So it's a very impressive kind of park to walk through. It's not so much a theme park, more of an amusement park, but it still feels kind of coherent in design. Everything kind of fits together.
Definitely.
Especially with the newer editions. You can tell what's new and what's old. The newer rides are much more permanent in design than some of the older rides, and they feel like they're gonna belong for a while. Whereas some of the older ones are just kind of feel a bit like they've been ripped out from a fun fair, say. But then even some of the older ones have been updated to fit the modern aesthetic, so it is really well done.
Let's go through some of our favourite ones because there's quite a few, so we'll just talk about the best ones, or the best and the worst ones.
You want to start?
Yeah, I'm trying to remember the rides. Obviously, the worst one was the purple one. What was that called?
Yeah, insane.
Insane,
The
which it
Zach's been
was.
insane, yeah. So why didn't you like that?
Well, first of all, I couldn't get in the seat because it was too high.
Very true.
It was painful trying to get in that seat. Secondly, it was just ridiculous. Like, it's a 4D one, so you're swinging and looping. So your head and your whole like neck gets jolted about. The whole, literally, it's just all pain, and there's no like good feeling at all.
It is very strange. There's parts of it where some of it's really relaxing because you're not really doing anything, and then there's other parts, as you said, where you just get thrown forwards. What did you say? Am I joking?
Yeah, where's the relaxing bit?
Well, going off the top of the lift hill, going on that straight piece of track.
Oh right, going straight. Yeah, that one bit.
But not all of it's not all of it. You go upside down. The problem for me is any bit where it's a sudden change of direction, where it loops under itself. There's your problem.
Yeah,
everything else is fine. It's the bit where you loop under yourself, because as you go round, you get thrown forwards into your restraint. You basically slap straight against it, are held there in place until you've gone round, and then once you exit, you're thrown back into your seat, and it's just horrible. It's a horrible feeling.
Yeah, agreed.
So some people like it. Insane's meant to be a good one. I've heard that Insane's the best one, but I still don't like it. It's super forceful, but not in a good way. It's super forceful in an awkward and annoying way. So it's a shame, really, because I think with
all the bits that are bad about a roller coaster, it has like those, but 10 times worse.
Yeah, it is a shame. I do think it could be cool in a way. I think that's what the SNS 4D coaster is, like a better version of this. You could easily make a better version of this, I think. And I imagine those would be cool. If there wasn't the sudden, stupidly forceful sections, it would be quite a cool ride.
I mean, it looks great.
What else? It does look cool. It does look cool. What else we got then? What else didn't you like?
Our favourite one. Oh, okay. Ones we don't like. What didn't I like? Oh, Icarus.
Ah, yes.
Icarus, I did not like.
So what was Icarus?
I think it's a brand new one, either this year or last year, and it's a drop tower. So imagine a drop tower, and then imagine you're at the top of the drop tower, and then instead of going down, they go, don't worry about it, we'll just face you forward so you're looking at the ground. So they tilt you forwards so that you can watch yourself die, and literally you're at the top, like looking down. So it's kind of like being on Oblivion, except it's a drop tower.
Pretty much. You do. It's a similar sensation, but the worst bit about it is, as you say, you're tilted forwards, but you're held tilted forwards with your, full weight of your body pushed against the restraint in front of you. You're held like that for 5 seconds or so, which feels like years. And then
because if the restraint goes, you would be dead.
Yeah. Obviously, it doesn't go, ever.
No.
Because they don't work like that.
Yeah, but
that's the thought that goes through your head, definitely.
That restraint is the only thing keeping you alive, for reals.
Yeah. So it is a terrifying ride. It's literally the next generation of drop tower, in my eyes. It's just so much worse than any normal drop tower. It enhances the whole drop tower experience by, multiplies it by 10. It's just insane, because we went on, this is an intimate drop tower, a new gen, I can't remember what they're called, but we went on an older generation, intimate normal kind of drop tower where you have the 4-seater units that fall, and we went on that, and it didn't faze me at all. It was just nothing compared to Icarus. I can't believe how much of a difference it was. Just that seating position made it so much worse,
because it forces you to look at the bit you don't want to look at.
Yeah, pretty much. It was obviously scary for most people because the queue wasn't usually that big for it.
Yeah,
so
nobody wanted to go on it.
You could tell that people were scared of it. Yeah, exactly. People weren't happy with it. So let's go. As much as I hated it, I actually really did enjoy it. As soon as we started dropping, it was very cool. But what other rides?
I like
did you
it in the
enjoy,
sense
Zoe?
that it's unique, but I didn't like riding it. I liked Blue Fire. No.
Blue Fire.
Blue, like, what's the blue
The blue
one?
one. Jetline.
Jetline.
Yeah.
Blue Fire. Jetline was really good. I have no idea
Yes.
what ride it is. It's a
It's like a
normal roller
Schwarzkopf sit down
coaster.
coaster. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was really good. It was
It was just
just,
fun and like quick, and it wasn't too jolty, which I expected it to be really
nope.
jolty, but it wasn't.
Yeah, it was super smooth, pretty intense, pretty whippy. It threw you about a bit, but I think throwing you about a bit's different to it being rough. It wasn't rough. It was
No.
really smooth. It just threw you about a bit. The layout was cool as well. How it kind of went around a bit through some of the other rides and then in a compact kind of twisty bit at the end. It's just a definition of a fun coaster. You know, it's really old
Yeah.
as well. I think it was built 1988, so it's what, like
As old as us.
31 years old.
Oh, wait, no. 10 years older than us.
Yeah, 31.
That's mad.
It's still going strong. I think it's the oldest no, it's not the oldest coaster. It's the oldest big coaster there. But
Yeah.
it's our favourite coaster by far. It's just whole lot of fun. And the queue for it is never too big either because the capacity is quite good. They're sending out trays quite quickly, so.
We also liked the wooden one.
Yeah, Twister. That was definitely another one of my personal favourite ones.
Yeah.
You were worried it was going to be
pretty
a rough
solid.
ride, weren't you?
I was, because it looked really old. I don't know how old it actually is, but I was expecting like a Blackpool Grand National style ride, but it was actually pretty solid.
8 years old.
Oh, is that all?
So
Okay.
it's new. Yeah, so it's a new ride.
That'd be why then.
Yeah. It was a new one for us. We'd done GCIs before, but we hadn't done a gravity group coaster. And Twister's a very compact, relatively small gravity group coaster. And it's insane how much kind of speed it carries. Even though the drop's tiny and the layout is relatively long, it carries so much speed through some of the elements.
Yeah.
It's a very impressive ride. I'm a real big fan. And the trains are comfy. It gives you some good forces, some nice airtime coming off some of the elements. It's a really, really nice coaster. I'm glad they got a wooden coaster as well. Something different.
Yeah, definitely. The other one we liked is the smooth red one.
The smooth red one. Kvaston.
Yep, if you've seen the vlog, that's all we ever call it, is the smooth red one, because the name's ridiculous.
Yeah, we didn't know how to pronounce the right name. First, we didn't know the name, and then we didn't know how to pronounce it, so we just called it the smooth red one. And it is.
It's been
a
renamed.
little Vekoma. Yeah, it's a little Vekoma suspended coaster, suspended family coaster, I should say. So it's not very high. It's about as high as Twister, actually. But you just kind of float through this layout, and it's a nice little layout. It's got some decent force actually towards the end as well. So it was just a nice ride, a nice family ride for everyone.
There's also, I don't know if you'd call this a ride, but there was a fun house there, which we went on, and immediately I realised that I couldn't do it.
You struggled, didn't you?
I struggled big time. The first thing you have to do, so if anyone doesn't know what a fun house is, it's basically loads of little rooms in a building where you walk through and there's all kind of like illusions and stuff moving. That's the gist. So to get into the building, you have to go up these stairs, which are like, the steps are moving past each other. I don't really know how to explain it any other way. And
yeah, it's hard to explain.
I could not get from one step to the other step. So essentially I was on these stairs like doing the splits, and the woman had to turn the thing off because I just couldn't walk up it.
But it's pretty much just moving things. Each room has something, well, not always moving, but quite often a moving platform or something that spins or something that's meant to kind of give you an illusion to make it hard to go through. So Zoe failed at the first hurdle, but there were quite a lot of other cool things as well. There was a trommel tunnel where you have like a walkway in the center, and you're in like a cylinder, and the whole cylinder rotates, and you walk on this walkway, and it feels like you're just tilting because all you can see is this rotation.
It really does.
It's very, very strange, but very cool at the same time. I like that. There was another one where the platform was like broken into sections, and the sections would go up and down, like oscillating. So one section would go up, and the section next to it would go down, and you had to walk across it. That was cool. There was a spinning little circular platform that you tried to get onto and then spin around for a bit and get off. One thing that you struggled at was the little spinning cylinder, wasn't it?
Yeah,
where you get inside of it like a hamster wheel.
Part of the problem with that one was I thought that it only span if you ran on it. And because you two were running on it, I thought you were making it spin. And so I was waiting for it to stop so I could walk over it. But then it never stopped spinning. So I had to try and walk over it. And it was really hard.
It's not hard. As soon as you get on it, you can feel how fast it's spinning. It's easy. It's a lot of fun.
But it makes your legs go like all over the place.
Yeah, that's the fun part. That's the whole point. What else was there? There was like a little mirrors section, house of mirrors section, where you tried to get through this maze.
The tilted room.
Yeah, you walked up a tilted room. I think the finale at the end was the best.
Yeah, I like that bit.
You got into this, like you got on a carpet and you went down this wooden slide, and it was really cool. It was a really nice slide.
It was like a trap door as well. You like went through it.
Yeah. The whole kind of, you sat on a flat platform and then it tilted down and you kind of slid down with it. It was cool. It's a very good ending. I like that. But yeah, no, the fun house was definitely one of our favourite attractions there. And there was loads of other different quirky rides at the park. Some dark rides, some other smaller coasters, some flat rides. There's quite a few flat rides knocking about. So yeah, no, it's just it's a very nice park, and to gain entry, it's a separate entry ticket, and then you kind of either pay per ride with tickets or you pay for a wristband. So not everyone has to kind of go on everything. You can pay to get in, and then people can just watch. So it's kind of a nice, especially for a city centre, that's kind of a nice thing.
We asked you guys for questions about both of these parks, just any random questions, so we have a few. Did the drop ride at Gröna Lund have any force, and how was the view? That's from Harrison.
It did have some force, quite a bit of force actually. I was surprised how much force it had, especially because as you dropped, you kind of at the end you were flung back into the normal sitting position, so you were flung from looking down to looking forwards. And that kind of gave a surprising amount of quite weird but cool force. So it was kind of a forceful drop tower, especially in the facing down position. Yeah.
Yeah.
What was the other part of that question?
I mean, as for the views, I didn't see it because I had my eyes shut the whole time, and that's not even a joke. So, Harry?
You get one of two views. You either look towards the centre or you look away from it. We were looking away from it, sadly, because if you look the other way, you'll look across the the rivers and all, not the rivers, but whatever they're called. You'll look across the water, and that view would be, I'm sure, immense. So good views and good drop.
Coaster Focus says, do you think a B&M invert is a good fit for Gröna Lund, or should they have got something else?
Yeah, so Gröna Lund for 2021 are getting this crazy B&M invert that somehow is fitting into the tiny gaps in the park. I don't know how they're managing it. I think the park obviously wants a big new thrill coaster that can handle a decent amount of people. And going with B&M, it's a fair thing to do. They don't really have an inverting roller coaster. So to have an inverted coaster, I don't think it's a bad choice, to be honest. I don't think it's a bad choice. It's a very kind of old coaster to choose now, but I think
I was thinking that.
Looking at what the rest of Sweden has, Liseberg doesn't really have a inverted thrill coaster. So in that sense, it makes sense for them to get one because there isn't really one around.
Yeah, it's kind of like an old classic, but they never had one, so...
Yes, then it does make sense.
This is a technical question. Muslo de Polo says, why is Jetline's chain lift motor at the top?
I have no idea. Didn't even realise it was at the top.
Cool. It's at the top,
it's just
apparently.
By design, maybe because it's compact, maybe because there's no space down below for it, I don't know.
Yeah. Rose says, what did you make of Gröna Lund's size and density of attractions?
The density in some places is incredible. Like there's multiple parts where on Twister especially, there's 3 coasters that are linking together. Then over by Jetline, there's 2 coasters that are pretty much interlinked completely. So some of the density of rides is insane. And I don't know how they've got so many drop towers just scattered throughout the place as well.
Mm.
And it doesn't feel too compact either. The pathways aren't too bad. So yeah, no, it's good. They've done well. They've done really well.
Caleb's Roller Coasters says, what were some of your expectations for the rides or parks, and did they meet your expectations?
Well, as we spoke about earlier, our expectations for Wildfire was high, and it didn't really meet it. But I had no expectations for the other aspects, no expectations for Gröna Lund at all. I didn't really
same.
know what it was going to be like. I don't know about you, yeah. So
I thought Gröna Lund was going to be worse than it is. It was like really surprising that it was so much like Liseberg, which is obviously my favourite park. So
yeah. So yeah, I think Gröna Lund surpassed both of our expectations. Definitely.
So that's that. We've got a mini-sode coming out next week, and then the episode after that will be talking about our second trip to Liseberg. So get excited for that. In the meantime, you can follow us on everything, mainly Twitter, CBR Podcast, and make sure to give us a little rating if you feel like it on iTunes. And obviously watch the vlogs, because then you can visually see what we've just spoken about, so that'd be good.
Yeah.
And yeah.